So we're going to talk about what it means to be a leader in any of those capacities. And what we're going to do is start by looking at a system that we created at Think in Strategy, and it's called the Predictable Profitability System. And Kathy's going to put up that slide number 3 to show us what we're all talking about here. And basically, there are 4 elements to any business. The first element is the foundational element. The second is the leadership element. The third is the profitability element. And the fourth is the growth element. And where most companies operate when they are a very small organization is they operate primarily on the foundational and growth. And here's how it looks. The leader goes, "Gotta make more money, bring in more revenue, and oh my gosh, need to have more people to deal with that." And then they just go through this loop of making sure they've got enough business processes going. And we say at Think in Strategy, there's a much better way of operating, and that is to create the leadership element, which is where decisions are made, culture is formed. Culture, by the way, determines the behaviors of an organization. And ultimately what it does is it creates that internal alignment. And then the profitability is all about quality, performance, metrics, and strategy. And then we say, yes, you can scale your growth. These are the 4 elements that we typically work with any organization. But today, we're going to talk primarily on that bottom right quadrant, which is the leadership element. And so the first question that I have for all of you guys is, what do you think a leader's job is? I'll just call on you guys and you can say. So Kimberly, what do you say the job of a leader is?
I think it's to support their team and to help them grow and thrive.
Thank you. Inas, what do you say?
Leaders, they always have to think strategically and influence their team and support them to implement that strategic vision that they put for them.
Very nice. Thank you. Kayla?
Leaders have to be understanding of the big picture and see how to relay that to their team to get them motivated to help without maybe understanding the whole from part that they don't see. Very nice.
So Franklin Covey says that there are 3 main areas. It's the vision, the strategy, executing on strategy, and coaching and inspiring. And at Think in Strategy, we say the same sort of thing. It's providing the guidance. Taylor talked about that as creating that vision and providing the guidance. Executing on strategy, we call it causing results, because ultimately it's the leader's job to make sure that everything gets done, but it doesn't mean that you have to get your hands in it. And a lot of times people confuse the difference between being a manager and being a leader. In fact, we're going to give you an article that explains the difference so that you know at times you may have to step into a manager role, but understand that that's what that is and not the leader role. Okay. And then ultimately, a leader needs to coach and inspire, and that comes through communications, support, and there are a lot of tools that need to be created to do that. And one of the things that we think make a better leader is better decision making. And it's not just how you think, it's also how the organization thinks. And the goals for any leader is to build confidence in the team and in themselves, and then to measure quality performance. For all leaders, you have to be able to measure results, because that's how you can speak to people. So to say it in another way is how to be better is to have aligned behaviors. And the tool for that is culture. Culture says these are the behaviors that we in the organization like and want, and these are the behaviors that we don't like and want. And you can either create that consciously by saying what is there, or it will be unconsciously created. Okay, you can think of it as a family unit. Mom and dad say, you have to be in by 10 o'clock. There you go. There's a rule and a behavior that you can and cannot do, right? And there are consequences affiliated with not following through on that, okay? Or you don't say that, and then every time you come in after 10 o'clock, you get in trouble, and after a while you figure out, well, I shouldn't be doing that because this is what keeps happening, right? That's, people kind of operate that way. And the measure for quality performance, by the way, is profitability. So if you're in a company and you are looking at your division, if you're not profitable enough, that has to do with inefficiencies around performance. And that's a thing that is really critical. In the Fearless Leader program, what we talk about there is understanding, we actually have an assessment that we do. It's called the TK conflict assessment, to tell us how we deal with things that are in conflict with whatever, like the culture is, whatever the behaviors are, and then how to communicate effectively. So you begin to see the links in what it means to be a better leader, okay? And the next area that we look at is how to be bigger. So in being bigger, it is creating that aligned thinking, which is the culture, plus what we call in strategy, a strategic lens. And that is looking at what's the right problem to solve. Leaders, very, very typically, you hand them a problem, they're going to solve it. They don't stop to think about it. They just go, okay, problem, I got this one, I can handle this. And what we really want to do is, as leaders, stop and go, is that the right problem to solve? And you can think about it as a tree with fruit on it. And if the fruit if there's some fruit rotting, you can try to, spray the fruit and all of that. But it could be that the tree itself, the roots aren't getting enough water or aren't getting enough vitamins. And so you have to look at the root cause, okay? And one of the things that to measure consistency around are the key metrics. And when you do that, it becomes exceedingly easy to see where we are off. The metrics will tell us very, very rapidly, so that we're not having to wait a year to find out. We want to be able to make changes as quickly as possible. And in the Fearless Leader program, where you become a bigger leader is through the actualized leadership test and the book that we follow. It's extremely important to understand how to move from your basic leadership to a fully actualized space of leadership. And then to be bolder, the company focuses on delivering what we do best. And that tool that we use is called genius thinking. And we'll get into that in a little bit later to talk about what that means. You also need to be able, if you're going to be bold, you have to know when to pivot and what to pivot on. And that measure is predictability. So how predictable, if you say, we're going to grow at 20%, that you actually do grow at 20%, right? That predictability, to be able to call that, allows you to pivot as you need to. And in the Fearless Leader program, where we create that boulder is in the origin story and in the manifesto. And the reason that occurs is because it translates whatever it is that we started with into a gift and a tool. It allows us to trust ourselves more and it gives us a relationship to failure that we need to have.